We are team 4 for our business and ethics team presentation and our team project. And today we would like to make a presentation. And before that, I would like to just quickly introduce who are in our teams. First of all, Lisa Schuster, Michael Rennie, Naveen Kumar, Kotaro Shinokawa, and myself, Masaki Ota. And for our project, we made 2 audits for each very global and worldly renowned companies. The 2 companies are UPMC and Oracle. And for today's agenda, I would like to, first of all, fill you all in for each of the company backgrounds. So the first one up is going to be UPMC, as well as followed by Oracle. And then after that, for 3 to the last part, we're going to talk about the formal code of ethics, each of the training programs for each company, and then the formal decision-making process, as well as what kind of roles do each leaders play in each firm. And then the evaluations and awards, as well as the whistleblowing and formal channels that each company has. And then kind of finalize with all the personal anecdotes that the people who we interviewed have kindly recommended or talked about to us. And then finalized by the recommendations that we have as a team. I'd like to start off with, first of all, UPMC. UPMC, I'm sure a lot of you locals in Pittsburgh will know for sure, but it's, again, a worldly renowned nonprofit and operated healthcare provider and insurer based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And we found that it was founded about 25 years ago, originating from a psychiatric space and currently generating revenue of $12.8 billion with over 60,000 employees. And UPMC operates more than 25 academic community and specialty hospitals, as well as consists of 600 doctors in offices and outpatient sites. And this makes it already. UPMC is the biggest hirer in Pennsylvania state and employs 3,600 physicians and offers an array of rehabilitation, retirement, and long-term care facilities. And one quote is that UPMC does what's right for the patient. As for UPMC, Dr. James Schuster kindly gave us his precious time to inform us all about this. And just a quick fill-in, but Dr. James Schuster is the VP of Behavior Health Integration and CMO of Behavior and Medicaid Services at UPMC Insurance Service Division. Okay, with UPMC said, I would also like to introduce who we interviewed for Oracle. First of all, Oracle is a computer and technology company. This is another worldly renowned global company who sells products for hardware and softwares, and they are headquartered in Redwood Shores, California. And Oracle was founded in 1977 by Larry Ellison, CEO until 2014, and with revenues of $37 billion for 2016, as well as 420,000 customers in 145 countries. This counts up to 140,000 employees worldwide, and this is really the biggest revenue in the software suites, one of the biggest companies selling software suites worldwide. And this, of course, is a for-profit organization, and who we interviewed is Ms. Janet Mostow, and she is the Enterprise Cloud Architect at Oracle, who gave us her own kindly gave us her precious time for our audit to be done. And so I would like to pass it down to our fellow members to go down through the agenda.
Okay, let's talk about ethical approaches and concerns. It seems that an industry which each organization belongs to determines these concerns and approaches. And at UPMC has value-based approaches. And for example, they are highly concerned about a nepotism policy and also patients' right and information. And Oracle has compliance-based approaches. The most they are highly concerned is sexual harassment as well as insider trading. And to deal with these concerns, both have internal code and foreign codes in the organizations. And UPMC, all new employees must learn ethic codes when they are hired, and also annual trainings are required. And because as a hospital, UPMC is highly related to human rights and dignity, they are highly audited and regulated. And on the other hand, Oracle, at the Oracle, they can spend $25 for one client per year as entertainment expenses. If it expect to be large, pre-approval is required. And in addition, including family members, employees, and family can't buy client stock. And in terms of healthy relationship with boss, they can't give gifts to boss kids as well.
Next, I'm going to talk about training at both UPMC and Oracle. So, both UPMC and Oracle have training as part of their onboarding process, as we talked about earlier. And this type of training, both companies use a computer-based training where they go through different scenarios. Oracle actually uses animated scenarios that they must work through. When training is completed at UPMC, there is a small test that each employee must go through. And it also must be noted that it's taken very seriously, and if this training and test isn't passed, then we were told that the employee can in fact be fired for it. Oracle, on the other hand, once they go through their training each year, then their employees must sign off on it. For UPMC, because they have so many physicians go through their own ethical training too, and so they have a heightened level of training that takes place outside of the workplace. So their training is ongoing not just in the company, but also outside the company. Oracle has, because they have offices in so many different countries, that they actually have different ethical trainings across different organizations. So they must be commended for modifying their training depending on the different cultures and areas that they go in. Our interviewee did state that their training could be considered industry standard. So it's pretty generic for across technology companies, so in that regard, maybe they could take it a little bit further or advanced training. Next, I'm going to be talking about ethics in the decision-making process. And it's hard to talk about the ethics in the decision-making process without talking about the overall missions of the company. So as we talked about before, UPMC could be considered a values-based company. And this is reflected in their mission, which is to maximize the return to their community and their employees. And because they're a not-for-profit, they're able to do this. As a result of this overall goal, because they are made up of physicians that go through their own training, that deliver ethics on a daily basis or deal with ethics on a daily basis, their ethics are intertwined in the decision-making process, so it doesn't stand alone separately. Each consideration that is made, or each decision that is made, ethics are incorporated into it. Oracle, on the other hand, with their compliance-based approach, and most importantly with their primary mission of profit-driven or revenue-driven, take a different approach. So starting right from the top with their CEO Larry Ellison, he's intentionally incorporated an aggressive, competitive, sales-driven culture. This results in a situation where ethics aren't ignored. It would be too far to say that they're ignored, but they're just a little bit lower on the ranking of important things. Oracle does have a number of strict rules around different processes that they take place in. So here, the RFP, or the request for proposal process, have specific rules about how ethics need to be incorporated.
Moving on, let's look into how executive leaders create a culture of ethical behavior both at Oracle and UPMC. Through the course of our interview, what we understood was that UPMC is a company where the leaders set the tone for ethical behavior throughout the firm. One thing that really stood out was that both the healthcare sector as well as the insurance sector had differentiated UPMC code of conduct, and every leader was supposed to enforce these code of conduct on their employees. And in terms of cost and benefit analysis for the insurance sector, given the nature of their business, leaders constantly encourage having a very good cost and benefit analysis to figure out what to do, what not to do. And another thing that stood out was that UPMC kind of falls into the reputation metrics in the ethical leader segments, where the business leader is supposed to be ethical and set the tone for the entire employees to follow. Moving on to Oracle, what we can see is that most of the Oracle people were focused on bringing revenue to the company, and personal ethics was kind of the way forward, as in the companies do not specify one single code of conduct for all the employees to follow, though in paper they have something like that, but it's up to the personal ethics of the person who's doing the revenue, doing the sales, to make sure that he does that ethically. And the leader's focus is more on segment based, and the emphasis is on customer satisfaction, but it is more on a personal level than on an enterprise level. And if you notice on the executive ethical leadership reputation metrics, you can notice that the leaders at Oracle fall into the ethically neutral leader segment and not into an ethical leader segment as UPMC. That is the difference in the ethical approach for both the executives. And what also we came to understand in the rewards and reward system to reinforce ethics was that UPMC was way ahead in terms of giving out rewards as a way to attract ethical policies from employees. And what they did was annually they had an event and they gave out ACE awards, which is awarded to almost like to 1% of their population. And the focus was more on people who followed ethical behaviors and the code of conduct that the company set forth. And the managers used to identify these employees. He prescribed what these employees did, and the rewards was in terms of like taking them out for dinner. They could bring in their spouses, they could bring in their families. The managers used to go. It used to be like a closed dinner event for the entire company during that time. And in terms of like reward system at Oracle, what we can see is like they gave out most valuable person of the year award, and the the value of the person was determined in terms of what is the revenue he's going to bring to the company, rather than whether he's focused on the ethical policies. And how they were identified was that there are customer success managers who identify the employees as being the person who's bringing in the most revenue to the company, and that's how they awarded them. And the awards was just based on emails and plates that you could hand over to the employees at the end of the session.
So both UPMC and Oracle have different formal and informal reporting channels available. For UPMC, they recommend starting with a written report to your manager. They also have a fraud abuse and compliance office available, as well as a corporate security and corporate ethics and compliance office. They additionally offer a compliance hotline, which is important to note that that can be anonymous. And then because of the nature of their business, you can also contact the Department of Health and the Joint Commission. Oracle also has a number of different channels that you can reach out to. They again recommend starting with your manager, as well as the Human Resources Office. You can also contact the legal team, since their ethics is rooted in the legal department. And then you can also contact your employee representative, as well as another hotline, which again is anonymous. So based on our findings, we have different recommendations for UPMC and Oracle, given their different approaches as well as different needs. For UPMC, we recommend compiling a database of previous ethical problems from different departments so that employees can easily reference these. We also recommend using an external auditor to assess the effectiveness of what they're currently doing. It sounds like they have a lot of processes in place, and who we spoke to at UPMC thought these were working well, but it could be helpful to get an outside perspective. And then lastly, facilitating formal ethical conversations across different departments and business units. So for example, having the doctors and nurses speak to people in the insurance department. For Oracle, we have slightly different recommendations. We recommend starting by conducting surveys across the company to see how employees think the current ethical situation is and the current ethical policy effectiveness. We also recommend implementing some sort of performance tool and reward system. Since there's an absence of any sort of performance evaluation, there currently isn't any formal way to evaluate the ethical behavior of employees. And then lastly, using a facilitated dialogue approach in training scenarios. So rather than having employees view scenarios on a computer, having them view or act out different live scenarios. And this concludes our ethical evaluation of the two companies. Thank you.